Most people think that owning a gun is going to make them safe, but when chaos hits, 90% of people freeze, and here's why. I'm Samantha, co-founder of Sovereign Self-Defense and the Warrior Workshops, along with my husband, United States Marine, combat veteran, and I'm about to tell you a little bit different things. We train people from all over the country and how to build themselves up to be highly capable in order to protect their family and their loved ones when the time matters most. There's a couple things that I see all the time in training that I want to clarify, because if you're like most Americans, you go out, you purchase your firearm, you probably keep it in the safe, go to the gun range a couple times a year, and that's pretty much as far as the training goes. So I want to make sure that everybody here listening understands the realities of what is going to happen to you as an individual if you ever are faced with that level of stress and duress. So today we're going to talk about the three things that I'm sure you've heard most: fight, flight, or freeze. Today I'm going to dive into the freeze element. Number one, a lot of times people say, oh, I wouldn't freeze up. I know exactly what I would do if, something happened. I'm the one that's going to protect my family. I mean, we've got guns in the house, but you're not honest about the reality of, if that pressure hits, what the body physically does under that level of adrenaline. So in that level of fight or flight, your vision gets brighter, your hearing gets intensified, your body, your heart rate, everything, your blood pressure, everything is an adrenaline hit to your body. In fact, this is your superpower, but if you don't know how to use it, or you don't train, then it's just like a negative feedback loop of fear, and that's where that freeze comes from. So the first thing that we want to identify from a training element is that everybody has a freeze, okay? It's not whether or not you're going to freeze. At some level, every single person is going to hit that freeze unless trained otherwise. So the first thing I want you to do in your training right now is just be honest that you even have a freeze. Yes. Now start looking at, what are your greatest fears? Some common ones that I see in a lot of families, whether it's a husband, a wife, a mom, a dad, is, what if I didn't protect my family? Yeah, what if I froze up? What if I took all the training in the world, I went to the gun range, I went to the courses, I bought the guns, and I still freeze, and something happened to my child? Or maybe your fear is that you made a mistake and you shot the wrong person by an honest mistake. I mean, these little fears are really big in our belief system. So we really want to make sure that we even be honest with ourselves that that is there, and then use that as fuel to train from that space. Another aspect of your freeze is to understand how you personally react under that stress. Now, I will tell you, after training hundreds of people, even thousands at this point, of all different types of individuals, moms, dads, everyday life people, you actually go to your lowest level of emotional maturity when that pressure is on. So everybody likes to think that they're going to do all this training and they go to the range and they exercise and work out, and they think that they're just going to be, John Wick when that moment happens. But guys, that's not the actual truth until you hit a certain level of, training. But what we see all the time, and what I want you to start looking at right now, is that you go to your lowest level of training in a fight. And what I'm talking about today is that lowest level of emotional maturity. So what I mean by that is, if you have some sort of stored trauma, now it doesn't have to be this crazy thing. Some people grew up with some pretty rough childhoods, and some people lived a pretty privileged life and just maybe never were exposed to a certain level of violence or evil in the world. So it really doesn't matter. But if you've had any level of fear, trauma stored in that psyche somewhere, guess when it's going to come out is when you feel that pressure. And when we talk about emotional maturity, we're talking about, if you want to look at archetypes in psychology, we talk about this a lot around, you've got that little girl, that little boy, and then you start maturing. Well, in a high stress scenario, you go to that lowest level of that archetypal maturity. And I can give you guys an example of this right now, even outside of self-defense, which would be maybe in business. So think of your career, okay? Everybody has either a boss or an employee or something like that. And maybe there was an altercation and something started happening where you said, wow, that person just turned into a total child. Or maybe you were self-honest enough and self-aware enough to say, wow, I just totally reverted to being a 5-year-old in that situation. It also could be with a spouse. We have all these things that it really comes down to your own personal belief system. People say mindset. It's not mindset. It's actually your personal belief system and your lived experiences that are actually going to get almost projected out in that scenario. Okay. So all of these things get enhanced and heightened in a high stress. I mean, when that adrenaline hits and that fight or flight is on, this is what actually comes out. So I'm going to leave you with this. If you are somebody that you went out and you purchased your firearms, good on you. Maybe you got your concealed carry or whatever your state has for your license, also good on you. Maybe you even found a really awesome, instructor or tactical training or something like that. That's awesome. Good on you. However, if you don't train this, your emotional maturity, your psyche, and really how do you do that is through building courage. That's really the only solution, is putting yourself into scenarios where you find that freeze, you work past it. And this is a delicate process, okay? So you really want to align with an instructor, a leader that has been there before, that understands that level of stress and duress and the realities of a high stress, intense scenario, and find your freeze, work past it, build that courage, build that capability. That is the antidote to this. So as you're looking around the world and you are looking for a company to align with or a leader to align with you on how to actually build yourself to be the best of the best to protect your family, make sure that that leader has the qualities that you want to take on. They should embrace that. They should have that. You should be inspired by their qualities, their courage that they have, that you can have for yourself as well if you go through that training. So much to the contrary, it's not just about buying weapons. It's not just about taking that tactical class. That's one aspect of it maybe, but it really is about building yourself to be the weapon. Everything else at that point is just a tool. If you're somebody that believes in building yourself up to be highly capable to defend your family under that stress and duress, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This is what we build here every single week, and I look forward to training with you guys soon.